India and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have come in for huge praise, in case you missed it, on the day of the Quad meeting in Tokyo. India, the United States, Japan and Australia, and all of this over India's tackling of the coronavirus pandemic and the manner in which it helped the entire region and many parts of the world. It was one of the big takeaways from the third Quad summit in Tokyo today. Take a look.
The world is raising a toast to India and Prime Minister Modi as the highly anticipated Quad summit concludes. US President Joe Biden led the Quad, lavishing praise on Prime Minister Modi for his continued commitment to democracy.
Prime Minister Modi, it's wonderful to see you again in person. Thank you for your continuing commitment to making sure democracies deliver, because that's what this is about, democracies versus autocracies, and we have to make sure we deliver. Thank you for the extraordinary leadership.
But this was not all. Sources revealed to India today that Biden paid tribute to India's stellar COVID fight back during the Quad leaders' closed-door summit. Biden lauded Prime Minister Modi for handling the COVID pandemic successfully and contrasted India's success within parameters of democracy with autocratic China's failure to handle the pandemic despite a brutal crackdown. He added that Prime Minister Modi's success showed the world that democracies can deliver and busted the myth that autocracies like China and Russia can handle the rapidly changing world better. Biden's remarks were unscripted and impromptu as he made a special intervention to convey them to Modi before his prepared remarks. In fact, newly elected Australian PM Anthony Albanese said that vaccines supplied by India to other countries have made a massive difference on the ground.
Our relationship with India is a very important one, and it was a great honour to meet with Prime Minister Modi.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida also appreciated India's contribution and recalled that Indian-made vaccines delivered under the Quad Vaccine Initiative were received with gratitude in Thailand and Cambodia recently. With Paulami Saha in Tokyo, Bureau Report, India Today.
But everyone's wondering, what is the point of this entire Quad alliance if it's not a security alliance like NATO? For instance, like in NATO, if any one member country comes under aggression from outside, for instance Russia, then the other member nations of NATO are mandated to come to the victim country's aid. It's not the same case with Quad, which is why many of you will be wondering, what is the point if this is supposed to be focused against China? Then if push comes to shove, will these countries work together militarily to check China? Watch this report, it answers your question. All the body language and bonhomie in the world, all the right things said, even a super viral photograph that's become the face of the Quad in 2022. But for all the massive gains of this grand coming together of four global democracies, what will the Quad actually do if the big gorilla in the room, China, crosses its limits? Well, for starters, the four countries have taken pains to emphasize that the Quad is not a security alliance like NATO, and therefore does not automatically mean that members will jump to each other's aid in case of Chinese strategic or military aggression. But Chinese aggressions have escalated for a while now, remember. From the borders of Ladakh to the Senkaku Islands near Japan to the South China Sea. China has made it clear that it won't be tempering its deep-seated expansionist impulses. But that doesn't mean that the Quad doesn't have a response plan, except it's anything but responsive. And India Today brings you an exclusive inside view of what it would actually look like. The first protocol involves the four Quad nations tying down China by forcing it to bolster defenses in multiple theaters, from the Pacific to the Indian Ocean to Ladakh to Taiwan, could dissuade China from its expansionist push. The second Quad protocol would involve the nations aligning their offensive capabilities with all four countries capable of long-range missile strikes on China, repeatedly reminding Beijing that such strikes are possible in coordination with each other. While the Quad isn't a security alliance in the strict sense, the Quad is an umbrella for several subset alliances between India and Japan, India and Australia, and other countries in the region, together posing a cumulative military balance challenge to China and chipping away at Beijing's expansionist tendencies. With India's long-range missiles, air force and formidable navy, US aircraft carrier groups and nuclear submarines, Japanese hunter-killer submarines and the Australian Navy, the four Quad nations have formidable militaries. But as we've just demonstrated, the plan to contain China is not reactive but proactive to ensure that things never reach a point where full military hostilities are ever deemed necessary. Bureau Report, India Today.